Hey, everybody, welcome to This Board Game Life, episode number 95. Hey, that's the number of Lightning McQueen. How about that? Anyway, title of the show is Times Are Changing. My name is Rob. I'm one of your fine hosts for today, and with me, as always, on the other half of the screen, if you're looking at the video, is my good buddy Mark.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Everybody, including you, Rob. How's it going?
Good. And you are AKA the co-host with the most. How's that?
With the most videos. Oh!
Yes! And charm.
No, I don't know about that.
Those are suave and debonair. But this is the show about games, board games, anything else we want to talk about. And again, this show is titled Times Are Changing. So we're going to be talking about how the landscape of this hobby is, I'll say, evolving. Maybe to the next level, whatever.
It's burning to the ground, Rob. You know it. It's burning to the ground.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But, before we get on with that part of the show, just a couple things to mention real quick. You can find us on YouTube, where we have our podcast, both audio, video. There's unboxings, playthroughs, reviews, all that stuff. Definitely check it out, like and subscribe. That's a great way to support the show and get notified as soon as there it goes, right there, wherever, I don't know, whatever it is. It's a great way to support the show, and we'd really appreciate it. And okay, so Mark, what have you been playing?
I've got a lot of. It's a smaller list,
Mm-hmm.
but I've got a lot of new things played. So I did play some Slide. This is a real easy little card game. It's fun. It is a thinker. Even though it's like very basic, it does make you really try to think about like how your cards are going to move, because you have like 16 cards in front of you that are all face down, and you pick one. Everyone picks one up and turns it right side up into the middle of the table. And then whoever's first player gets to pick whichever card is face up to put back into their pile. But you can't put it into the spot that you took the card. You have to slide it into your pile so that you have to move cards in that same row or column to fill that, and then you're putting that new card in at the edge. And you keep doing that until all 16 cards are, upright, face up. And you're basically trying to match like the same number orthogonally next to each other. And then that basically, as long as it has its neighbor is the same card, it doesn't count against you. And at the end, everything that doesn't have a matching neighbor, if you will, you count the face value of the card. And they're like numbered 1 to 10. So it's a fun little game. I've really enjoyed it. Everyone I've played with so far has enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a little pretty simple family fun party style game, check out Slide.
And that's before you do the electric slide.
Yeah, no electricity required.
Yeah. That's
except
a dance.
You want some light.
It's like a dance or something.
I don't dance, my friend. I don't dance. I also played Far Away, People from Below. I played Far Away, but I've got the People from Below expansion now into the deck. And Far Away is a great little card game. Again, I think I talked about this last time.
Mm-hmm.
And you are playing basically like 8 cards out from left to right, but then you're scoring them right to left, like backwards. So you have to, like, anything that needs a lot of resources, you want to play those out very early if you can, because when you're going backwards to score, you want to have those resources in your line later in line when you placed it, so that you can score that card when it comes back available. So it's not it's a quick game, and it's a fun game. I really do enjoy it a lot. So this is Far Away. Another big game that has been the delight of everybody. I've played several different groups now, and everybody loves Moon Colony Bloodbath. You can play this in under an hour with, I think that plays up to 5 people, I believe. I think I've only played with 4 so far, but we're always under an hour, and it's a lot of fun. You're building up your engine only to destroy it because life on the moon is hard. The robots will turn against you. There's accidents. There's all kinds of things happening. People are going to die, Rob. People are going to die. And you need to keep as many people alive as possible.
The moon is a harsh mistress.
It is. So Moon Colony Bloodbath it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I think I mentioned this to you when we were talking. I don't think it was on the show, but I see SDJ nominee for this one. I think it's going to happen. It's going to be on that list.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Probably SDJ regular. Not the Kinderspiel or anything. But I bet you it's one of them. We shall see.
Yep. All right. Another game I played is one you may have heard of. It's called Spectacular.
Yes.
Chili Fox Games. And my copy finally arrived that I ordered last October or last August. Because Rob didn't explain to me how great of a game it was when he bought it. And so poo-poo on you, Rob. It's all your fault. But now I have my copy, and it is spectacular. It's a really fun dice and tile game. You are placing dice and tile and building a zoo and stuff. And I think the coolest part about the game is the shared resource board that rotates around between everybody. And you're looking at that to see what, when you're taking off that, like you want to see what does everyone else need. You don't want to necessarily leave something for them, but you're looking at what's also on the other boards and like, okay, I hope I get that. Hope it's still available to me when that board comes around. It's a really fun game of building this little zoo. Next, I played some more Orleans. Again, we had fun with that at game night. That's a classic, and it's a good one. Then I played a game called The Loop, and this one it's a cooperative game where it kind of reminds me of what's that? Marvel United? Or no, not even that. Sorry, that's the wrong one. It kind of has that type of feel, Marvel United, but not with the cards, just where you're fighting this boss and monsters. But if you've ever played, sitting right behind me, King of Monster Island, have you played that one by Yellow? That's really reminds me of that. And essentially, you are fighting this kind of boss guy in a cooperative game, and you have to complete so many different items. Like you have to complete these missions that are available by doing certain things. And it's a circular board essentially, and there's this dice tower in the middle, and it's like if the boss does damage a certain amount of times, then that mission essentially it explodes, and then that's no longer available to us. And if that zone like explodes again, then like we lose the game. If we have to complete, I don't know if it was 3 or 4 of these missions, and before he takes them out and before he destroys us. But it was really an interesting game. I really liked it. It was one I had never heard of before, and I think I was going to look this back up. It came out in let's see if this is the right one, 2020. Yeah,
which game is this? I lost my audio for a little bit.
Oh, it's called The Loop.
Okay. Right.
It's by Pandasaurus Games, and it's a quirky cooperative game, and you are playing a temporal agent in 4 different game modes. But it's really cool. You get these cards, and what was interesting was like all of our characters were different. Like my character really wasn't doing damage, but I was able to, I did have an ability at one point to to remove or to move the clones, which are kind of like the henchmen of the boss, right? And if I can move them over into their main area where they belong, I can get rid of them through this portal. And one time I was able to move in one turn, I got rid of 8 of these clones, which was huge. It was an amazing move, the way everything worked out. But mine was more of a support character, and every character had different abilities, and it was really fun to play together and work together to win this game. So if you haven't heard of it, check out The Loop. Again, this is from Pandasaurus Games. It's an excellent game. It's weighted at a 281 for ages 12 and up, 1 to 4 players in about an hour. So that's what it took us. Another great game that I discovered this week. So the game Earth has been out for a couple years.
Yeah.
And it's something I've looked at. I know it's won a lot of awards. And every time I've looked at it, I'm like, no, it just didn't seem like, right for me.
It didn't grab you.
It didn't. And then the other day I was like, I needed retail therapy. I don't buy enough stuff. So I went out, my daughter and I were out doing some stuff, and we went into Barnes & Noble, and I saw this. I looked at all their games, and my Barnes & Noble has a huge game section.
Oh, nice.
And the only thing they really had that I was stuck out to me was Earth again. And I'm like, I just bought it. I'm just buying this thing. Well, I actually got to play it the next day, and with some friends of mine, and oh my goodness, this game is awesome. I'm like, how have I missed out on this one? Earth is it's a card game, and let's see, how do I best say it? I should probably pull up and see what they say it is. But you're using cards to basically build a tableau, and you are building up your world. You have a climate, you have an ecosystem, so you've got this weather and all these different factors in your little tableau that you're building. And so everyone starts with a specific island and a climate and an ecosystem. And then there's these things out that you're trying to accomplish, public goals, essentially, by trying to do things in your card grid. And you're laying out, I think it's a 4x4 grid, if I recall. And so it's 16 cards that you're playing out. And as soon as someone has all these cards out, then that triggers the end of the game once they have their 16 cards. But you are placing them out kind of in any order as long as you stay in that 4x4 grid. But you're trying to, and all the cards have all these different things on them. Some will be you can trigger their abilities at certain times depending when someone else is playing what they're playing. So there's 4 actions that you can take. And what's really cool is when the active player says, I'm going to do the green action or the orange, yellow, or blue action, whichever they're going to take, everyone else gets to do that same action, but it's at a reduced ability. You don't get to do as much as the active player does, but you're still taking moves and doing things on everybody's turn. So this game is constantly moving. There is no downtime, which I love that in a game.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love no downtime. And you're building trees and putting sprouts out, and maybe something's going to happen with an ability that you lose part of your trees, or you lose some sprouts, or so your engine is in constant flux, and you got to be careful what you're building and what you're playing based on the environment that you have, based on the cards that you've already played, based on the abilities that you want to try to trigger the most. It's just really, really fantastic game. Again, a first-time play of us understanding the rules. 3 of us played this in an hour with the rules, teach and learning.
Wow.
So we could easily play this in probably 45 minutes the next time we play it because we know it. And I will say this game I felt a little overwhelmed when I first was looking at this, because it's one of these cards, they have so many things on them. But I got to give a shout out to Monique and Naveen on YouTube. I'm drawing a blank. I know their name of their channel. I'll have to look it up real quick and make sure I give them the credit. But they did a playthrough. Like, there's an official from the company. It's like 6 minutes how to play. I'm like, that didn't help at all. Watching
Too quick.
Monique and Naveen going through it, they taught you the game, and then they do a playthrough and they talk about it, made the game like, oh, this is not that complicated at all. And it was like, okay, I'm ready to go play this. And we did. It was fantastic. So I got to look them up real quick. But,
I'll
yeah,
look it
that's
up.
Earth. Okay. Well, do you know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember their channel name.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and let's give them a shout out for that. And they're really good. I like
before
watching
you
them.
play.
Before you play. Thank
Yeah.
you. So I really like their channel a lot for learning a game.
Mhm.
Now theirs will usually be an hour plus. You know, where it's like sometimes like I just want to watch the 6-minute video. Well, a 6-minute video is not going to teach you how to play the game. It's going to run through the basics really quick, and you're still going to go, huh? They do a great job of explaining the game, how to play. They do it's like a teach, and then they go and do an actual playthrough. And I'm always impressed with their teaching videos. So if you need to learn something, I recommend checking them out if you to see if they've got a video to watch. All right. Next, Rob, you probably recognize this one.
Oh, yeah, I do.
The Guild of Merchant Explorers. And I figure it's probably one of your favorites because it's such a blah-looking
Oh,
game.
nice.
I'm like, even the colors on this game, I'm like, what? There's more than 4 shades of tan you could use in a game. Oh,
come on! That's my kryptonite, man. You know I'm colorblind.
But it
and
was
they all look the same.
Yeah, that was I struggled with this because I'm like, what? I don't know how. Maybe it's easier for someone who has color issues, but I'm like, man, I was like, what's tan? What's the difference between the tan, the beige, and the brown? I knew what the blue was. That was easy. But anyways, it's not here nor there. But this is, it reminded me of Kingdom Builder because you're putting out there's a card will be flipped and everyone's placing out these little cubes on their little map. And you've got to put your cubes out like in a straight line, just like Kingdom Builder. And they have to touch, a previously placed cube type of thing. And you're trying to get to the edge and, get to certain spots on the map and different things to gain points and stuff like that. So it was a fun game. I think I enjoyed this more than Kingdom Builder. I don't know. I'm not really sure if Kingdom Builder is a lot better on the coloring. I'll tell you that. It's a lot easier to know where you're supposed to go. But I felt they were similar, but yet they were still very different from each other. This one was weird though, because after like each round, you'd wipe your board clear. Instead of like one game, you just keep putting all your cubes out. This one is you'd put them out, and when the first round ended, you take back anything that wasn't like whatever it was, like a marketplace or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you were building, those would stay. But interesting game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was done by Matthew Dunstan, who did Next Station games. Like London.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Paris and
yeah.
Okay.
And also, Guild of Merchant Explorers was I don't think it won SDJ like 2-3 years ago. Might have been. Let me see. It's probably a nominee. Yeah, it's the Kinderspiel nominee last year, actually, not previously.
So yeah, it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. Then I played Moonleap.
Oh yeah,
which is a different name.
New Mary.
Yeah. So this was fun. Played this with my mother the other day. And it was last night actually. We played
very simple game.
Yeah, it is. It's a simple game, and she whooped my butt. I'll tell you that. Dude, my number one space guy was the only one I kept rolling a 1, and so he was moving way up in my 2, and I couldn't get my 3, 4, and 5 to get going. It's like So yeah, she obliterated me in the scoring when it came down to it. So, but it's a fun little game.
Yeah.
And what's cool about Moonleap is this is a reskinning of Numeri,
which is the Easy Play games, right?
Yeah,
like Mountain Goats was another reskin of it, and of one of them. Yeah.
So, but what I thought was really cool about Moonleap, and I don't have it, it's upstairs, is the box it comes in. It's a magnetic box that opens and completely lays out, and it's the board.
Oh, nice.
The box lays out and becomes the board. And then you just fold it back up and put everything in, and it's all magnetic and closes up really neat. It's really cool.
Oh, that's nice.
So, and then the last game I played, you and I were looking at this. It was on our list to pick up at the Ravensburger booth at Gen Con last year. But by the time we got there, it was already sold out. This is a game called Hit. Now,
I blame Lorcana for it.
No, Lorcana was the year before.
Oh, because the Ravensburger line is ridiculously long because of all the Lorcana stuff. Oh,
that's true.
And then by the, it's either like you sit there through that friggin' long line and get your game, or you wait until that line dies down and then everything's gone.
Yeah. But I got a copy of it finally.
Nice. Very nice.
And it doesn't have great ratings on BGG.
Really?
It's like a 6.2. But I had a blast with this because, and maybe it's meant for people like an older age and a younger age, because this, when I was reading about it, I'm like, this really reminds me of the game Sorry, which I grew up on Sorry. That was my jam back in the day when I was a young kid. We played that probably more than any other game with my family. But this doesn't have any dice. It just has, it's like, think of Sorry with the addition of a deck building aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So you get your 4 pawns. They're in this little home space. You have to pull, and everybody gets the same starter deck of like 6 cards. And 2 of them have a card that will either you can either pull a pawn out of the home space, or you can move a pawn like 1 space. And so you have to have that card to move the pawn out on the board and then start moving them around. And you got to get all 4 out. You got to move them all the way around the board and get them into the safe zone, just like Sorry. But this one, you're playing cards you're going to do. And then every round, you're going to play 3 cards. So you always are drawing 3 out of your deck. And some of them will just give you coins. Some will let you do moves and gain coins. And you can play them into the 3 cards. You have to play them all. If you're unable to play something, and if you're unable to move the pawn, then you lose the ability on the rest of the card. So, excuse me, you basically, as long as you can move, then you get the other benefits of the card. If not, you have to basically discard it, unplayed. And so as you're going around, there's some cards, there's a market. So once you have enough coins, then you can, at the end of your turn, so you're playing your cards, moving your pawns, and then when your cards are played, you use your coins to purchase from the marketplace, which has all these different cards that you can buy. And there's a whole range of crazy things that they do. And then you can buy 1 or 2 or whatever you can afford. Those go on top of your draw deck. So whatever you're drawing, you get to immediately use, which I think is really cool. Doesn't like a lot of other games, they go to your discard pile and you got to wait till you're done and then you're shuffling. In this game, you get to use it right away. So that might dictate what you buy, because it's like, well, this one's nice, but I can't really use it now. Maybe I'll get this other one that I can use right now and would be benefit. But it allows you to like hop around and move in different ways throughout the game. And it was a lot of fun. Even my mother enjoyed it. It was interesting because about a quarter of the way through the game, she's like, "Oh, you're going to slaughter me," because I had like all my guys out. She had 1. I was just kicking butt. But you get these cards into your deck and it really changes the gameplay. And it turned out that, I was scrapping to try to get at the end. I did win, but it was by the skin of my teeth. I got my last person in my little pawn into the home safe zone. So, but we really had a good time with it. So it's like a modern day Sorry, but with deck building. That's the way I'm calling it. And you can't go wrong with that. I think that was cool.
It really reminds me of, I would say, like an easy play game, like what we had just talked about with Moonleap.
Yeah.
But a little more, because it's, I would say, a little more complicated than your average easy play game.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but not much. It really does have that feel of an easy play game.
Oh, definitely.
And, it's, I guess it has a low rank overall because, it's like, hey, it's a deck builder. Well, this is nothing like other deck builders.
Yeah.
It's a simple deck builder. I think if you kind of look at, if you liked Sorry and you enjoyed those types of games, but you want to add this deck building and get rid of the dice, it's really interesting. The game plays 2 to 4 players. It's like 30 to 45 minutes. It really is. It's fun. I had a lot of fun with it. So,
and it's a good designer too.
Yeah, Ralph Zurlind.
Yeah, he made Finca.
Oh, that's where I heard that name from.
Yep, Finca and Pergamon, which I got 2 versions of it. They redid one with the Kickstarter.
But
must not be here. But Milestones. Yeah, he's made some decent games that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a light game, but I had fun with it. And at the end of the day, it's all that matters. They don't all have to be, brain burners. They don't all have to be Twilight Struggle.
Yes.
No. All right, that's it for me.
That
How about you?
True. So for me, I got Conservas. I think that's probably the proper way to say it. Where it's I forgot where it's set, but you're basically fishing and canning on fishing boats.
I'm guessing it's going to be on the coast of Spain.
Yeah, something like that. I couldn't remember if it was like Spain or Portugal or whatever. But it's a solo game designed by Scott Almes, which I'm a fan of his games. I like quite a few of his games. So it's a single player game, plays in about half an hour or so, fairly low weight. And the gist of this game, it's kind of cool. The gist of this game is that it's a bag building game where you have 4 different kinds of fish. I use fish loosely because not everything's a fish. So you have sardines, scallops, mussels, and octopus. And you're going through and, you have a whole bunch of these, little tokens that are inside, wooden tokens that are inside your bag, and you're drawing them out. And then every time you draw these tokens, you have to put them on a particular card, either a ship card or this like open water card. And when you put them on the card, so let's say, for example, you're putting them on a ship card, and you have 2 sardines, 2 water, and a scallop. What you would do is you either have to choose to put it on your ship or throw them overboard and put them in the sea, the deep sea. And if you put them on your ship, you're basically going to use them to buy upgrades, or you're going to can them. And you have this separate player board where you place these tokens down when you can them and you get money back. So it might say like, 2 sardines and get 3 coins. 1 scallop, get 1 coin. So you're fulfilling these we'll call them orders for canning, and you're getting money. If you throw them into the sea, what happens with those is that's where the creatures will then, I think they use the term spawn in the book, or have babies. So, for example, if you have 3 scallops that you throw back in the water, they'll create whatever the count is -1. So 3 scallops will make 2 brand new scallops that you throw into your bag. So the whole game is basically a, push-pull mechanic of, I'm trying to make money so I can use money to buy boats, or I'm trying to, can't use these creatures to get upgrades, or I need to have them make babies, have them procreate, so I can put more of them in my bag. And every game has like a standard and a difficult goal. So, for example, you might need to, in 7 rounds, complete, getting like 40 coins and, 5 scallops and 5 sardines. So all this while you are trying to accomplish this goal. You're trying to get money. You're trying to have these creatures, create more creatures. You're trying to cash them in. It's pretty interesting. And it comes with a book. So it's not like player boards per se, but it comes with a book, that, spiral bound book, very similar to like The Mandalorian, for example.
Okay.
How it comes with that book, but it's not as big. It's much smaller. The spiral bound book, and there's 1 board for each month. So you normally start with January, work your way up. They get more difficult as it gets towards December. But there's a fair amount of replayability. There's different goals with each month, and I really enjoy the game. It's sort of a relaxing solo game, and it really reminds me of a game called Fleet that came out, probably like 10, 15 years ago. From Matt Riddle, Ben Pinchback, I think, and they had a couple of them. But Fleet was another game that was about fishing, and it was a great game. And this game kind of has that similar vibe, although they're not the same game or copies of each other in any way, I don't think. But I really enjoyed it. That's Conservas. I'm guessing I should say that with some kind of accent, probably. But yeah, it's a good game. Yeah. Salt and Pepper Games. But yeah, that's it for me.
Cool.
All right. Before we get on with the main topic that we're going to talk about on the show, just a quick note. You can contact us at contact@thesboardgamelife.com. And then also, there's plenty of videos to leave comments on, or even the podcast episodes themselves. You can also go to our website, thisboardgamelife.com, and there's a widget on the right-hand side to leave us a voicemail. And we can play your audio on the show. And just to add, we don't need people contacting us for transcription services or to promote our website. There's plenty of, dude, there's so many of them. It's like, nice try. Nice try. Anyway, so the topic, or the name of the show is Times Are Changing, because they definitely are. I'd say that, things have forced a huge change in, many industries, in particular the board game industry. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk about like some of the stuff that we see that's potentially coming down the pipe. So, there's a big elephant in the room. We're really not going to talk about that, right? With the tariffs and stuff. But, what other things are going to change, that maybe aren't being discussed? And one thing that I wanted to bring up, I think 2025 is potentially going to be kind of a big change for convention season. In particular, I think maybe not so much the ones that are more about gaming, right? Because, those are just lots of tables, people having fun.
Yeah.
In some of these conventions, like I'll say, Essen, right at the end of the year, Gen Con in particular, they're very retail based. With stuff that's going on, because as of this recording, well, there's less than 100 days, right? Less than 100 days to Gen Con. So, there's a lot of companies that are still preparing for Gen Con, right? They're preparing their booths. They're preparing inventory. I'm sure there's a lot of games that are on ships or in warehouses, right? Or maybe they were supposed to be on ships and they're not. I really wonder, like, if we're going to see less inventory at Gen Con, just because of potential costs of getting games there. But at the same time, if it's a larger publisher, let me ask you this, Mark. Do you think that if it's a larger publisher, that they just might float that? Because one of the big things for Gen Con in particular, and Spiel, and actually, heck, a lot of these big conventions, is that this is where companies want to get their games to, because these are the people that are invested in the hobby to quite a degree, and they're the ones that take games and they bring them back to their hood, wherever that is, and they evangelize these games, right? It's like, hey, I got this game, spectacular, it's freaking awesome. It's like, and people are like, oh, I never heard of it. And, that breeds people to buy it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you think companies, like, if the current situation continues for another 2-3 months, do you think that companies are gonna kind of suck it up?
No.
And do it? No.
Do
you think they're going to go in the opposite then, and we're going to have maybe more demos and less for sale?
Yes. I would expect that at this Gen Con this year, because unless things do change with the tariffs, and I mean, there's a whole argument that could be had.
Yeah, 3 months is a long time.
Whether it's even kicked in, right?
Yeah.
But it's pretty volatile, and I personally think it's not going to last long. But I think if these companies, it's a lot of money that they are being charged to bring these products. So what I would expect is the conventions like a Gen Con that are here in the US, you will probably not, like the things that are supposed to ship out and be available. Like a lot of times there's things that come to retail at Gen Con. That may not happen. I've seen a lot of, I've gotten emails myself from crowdfunding and things like that. They're basically saying most of them are holding off to
postponing the project
to see what's happening before they charge. But a lot of them are going to be like, look, if the tariffs are in place on the date that we're supposed to ship to the US and we got to pay 145 or whatever it is at that point, tariffs, they're going to pay to, a lot of them are going to pay to hold the stuff in China until hopefully that goes away and it becomes feasible for them to ship them to the States. So I think the US might see a lot less new games coming in this year, unless if this doesn't change soon. And I could expect, because even previous years, a lot of games that are available for retail or to purchase have a lot of them are pretty slim to get to anyways. They,
Mhm.
it's like that. I think they do that on purpose to build the excitement. It's like, well, we're only going to bring so many, and it's so many industries do that. But I kind of think to finally answer your question, I think we may see fewer things available that are newer. If it's not already here and the tariffs aren't gone by the time they would need to ship them to get them here by the end of July, 1st of August for Gen Con, it's very likely we won't see them. And we might just have demos.
Yeah, so we might see less retail space at the booths and more gaming tables or demo tables.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is going to be that we already know that Flat River Group, they've already canceled their booth and their meetings for Gen Con of this year. So they're gone. We know that.
So I would assume, and not that I know anything about how conventions work, but I would assume that their space is already paid for. So what they are actually giving up then is the costs of hotel rooms, the costs of housing people, feeding people, transportation, right? Getting everything to the convention. So it's not like they really walked away with, okay, Gen Con isn't costing us anything. They've already had a cost. It's just a matter of
they won't be paying
reduced.
anything in July and August to cover that, which would be probably several $1 million. Hauling all that stuff in and setting up your booths. And I mean, I know they go from like convention to convention typically, but there's the amount of money that goes into it is incredible.
Yeah, I don't remember how big their booth was. Yeah, before.
Yeah, I don't remember. I do remember seeing them there. I know that we probably will not see CMON. They are supposedly closing up. We
are they closing, or did they just halt future projects? I don't know. I'm not trying to correct you. I was just asking a question.
Again, all of these, there's so many news articles, and it everything is changing so much, almost on a daily.
Yeah.
But let me see. The last one I have, I know they're doing difficult staffing decisions, creative teams with reductions. I know they canceled like all their crowdfunding that hasn't been fulfilled. I think this article I'm looking at is like 5 days old. I think there was one newer than that was talking about that. Oh yeah, here's a different article. This is the one I was thinking of. So it's the same day, different place, but they're reducing all their staff. I said that already, but they have 10 yet to deliver crowdfunding projects, which raised more than $22 million. And another 7 that are currently due for delivery later this year. And they have 7 more that are outstanding through pre-order. These are now subject to the 145% import tax. Yeah, let's see.
They have so much stuff going on.
Yeah. So, yeah, and this one really went into more depth about how much money they've lost and stuff. But the thing is like, they've got millions of dollars from these crowdfunding campaigns. And where's all that money? Well, we're talking millions and millions, lots of millions of dollars raised for these games that they have not fulfilled. I know they canceled several. I'm trying to find where that was. And it's like the people that backed them are not going to get their money back. And I'm going to say this. I'll say it and I'll be done with it. But I think CMON is a perfect example of using tariffs as an excuse for their very poor management. This is not, that's all I'm going to say. I think they're just using this as an excuse. I don't think all companies are, but CMON should be big enough that they shouldn't be, and I think they've been mismanaging everything for so long.
Or
That's what's caught up to them.
I do know that they do a lot with minis, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of their games. From what I understand, there is an expense to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because, of molds and everything. And when you make a game project, right? When you send it off to the fabricators, to the factories, whatever, it's not like, hey, I'm going to put this order in for these minis, I'll pay you when I get it. They have to advance that, right? They have to pay for all that stuff in advance. So I'm sure a lot of their money is spent, right? It's not like I have a hard time believing that they actually like pocketed it or anything like that. But, that doesn't improve the situation whatsoever.
Well, the other aspect of it is how many crowdfunding campaigns they've got going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the crowdfunding sites and their rules, you are not supposed to have multiple crowdfundings going on at the same time.
Yep.
And it does look a little suspicious when you have all these different, 10 of them in this article, 10 crowdfunding campaigns they've got all the money and they've not delivered.
Yep.
10 yet to deliver projects, which raised more than $22 million. That's a lot. Like, where is this? So not only because of things like this, which I've kind of complained about these guys in particular, but I think this should change crowdfunding as well going forward.
Yeah.
I do think you're gonna see a decrease in people willing to put their money up into crowdfunding.
That was going to be my next thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah, we're all sitting here with everything that I got one in today. I had one come in today that was probably a year late, and I had to pay additional to get it shipped here.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's already late. And they're like, well, because of all these things, and this one was not tariff related. It was related to all the stuff going on in the Middle East. And so they said, we can have it. You can pay this money to get it airshipped, flown to you from China, and it'll cost you this much, or you can wait to have it sent on a boat, and we don't know when it's going to get to you.
Slow boat from China.
So, I just paid. It wasn't that much. And I'm like, I'll just pay to get it shipped here. I would like to have this thing.
Yeah.
But like when it got here, I was like, man, I ordered this like 2.5 years ago. Like, I'm not even really interested in it anymore.
Yeah.
So, but the whole thing of like all these things we have backed, how much more are we going to have to pay? They're always like touting, oh, you save money. And well, do you? Because we pay shipping.
No, there's no money saving.
There's no money
Zero.
saved. Yeah. So, and these publishers are not like our friends. They're making money. They wouldn't be doing it if they weren't making money. So It is. And so I do suspect that we're going to see less retail options in the States. I think we're going to see less retail options at conferences where other conventions like in other countries that don't have that issue, there's probably going to be a bunch of stuff released at Essen this year that maybe some of these Gen Con releases will get pushed back to Essen release dates or something, or they'll just release them over there and we're going to have to wait to get them. But then again, also crowdfunding, how's that going to be handled? I do think a lot of people are going to just spend less money into crowdfunding because it's so uncertain. It just adds more uncertainty into a platform that's already uncertain to begin with, because there's no guarantees in crowdfunding.
Because I know there's been some projects that have launched recently, and I really look at them, like with a raised eyebrow, and I am less apt to YOLO into something.
Yeah.
Less apt to commit. And I was looking at one in particular that, maybe I normally would just jump at it without even thinking. And it was more like, I don't need this, or I'll wait maybe until it gets to retail, like over here, if it does. Because I think when it comes to Kickstarters, one thing that really annoys me is I'll call it nickel and diming that we get, where, we pay for the Kickstarter and then we have to pay for shipping and tax and, an extra bump, right? Because of tariffs or something like that. It's just like, I would rather just pay up front and not have to worry about completing a pledge manager, before I get the game. And
yeah, you pay right off the bat for what you pledge to, and then you get the pledge manager, you got to pay for shipping. And now it's like, well, now some are requesting more money for tariffs. Yeah, it's just it's complete uncertainty.
Jar too, probably.
Yep. Some are. I couldn't find the article. I was looking here for it. I read it I think it was an email I got, and I just don't remember which email it came to. But there was one of these companies is they're not going to add anything, but they're opening up basically like a tip jar to allow people to give them money to help cover the costs. Or there's another one that was like doing a pre-sale. They're doing a pre-sale of some stuff basically early to try to help raise more money for the companies. I kind of didn't understand that one, but like if you have the product, why isn't it not out? Or are you just doing pre-orders, essentially crowdfunding, just putting the pre-order tag on it? So it's each of these publishers are handling it a different way, but
and I understand for them it's a struggle, right? It's the stuff
is a business.
Yeah, it's not a big deal or not a insignificant deal, and
right.
And that I get it, but me as a consumer, I'm going to be more selective with Kickstarters because I don't want that surprise of like, all right, if I see like an $80 Kickstarter, right, that is like on my high end of what I would technically want to support. And the last thing I want to see is that $80 pledge get like $20 shipping and then like another $70 tariff charge or something. It's like that pushes a game into a no range, like not going to get it. And that's a tough thing for these companies. Do you think that there's going to be more of a hesitancy for some publishers to publish their games now, where they might hold off for a couple of months instead?
Well, I think they can't really hold off because that's money they're not getting. I think they will still release in other markets. I think they're just going to have to hold off. They're either going to have to pay the money up front and then increase the retail cost for items going into retail. The consumer always ends up paying everything. That's the thing where I'm kind of like, when they're asking for a tip, ooh, please help us. Woe is me. Well, that's the nature of business. You getting your stuff from another country. Like there's so many things involved in that. And it's like, why is it our job to bail you out because you're not making ends meet? It doesn't matter why, it's the nature of doing business. And this is not a hit on games. This is every industry. They have stuff to deal with, and the tariffs are hitting everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm only hearing the board game community complaining about it. Everything's going up. So that's why I kind of I'm like, whatever, cry me a river, Simon, I don't really care, and I don't believe that they're going out of business because of tariffs. They've been on that path already for years of mismanagement. So, maybe this is what it's going to take to get, maybe this will be good in the end, because maybe we get rid of some companies that are barely hanging on or being mismanaged. Maybe the ones that survive this will come out of it stronger and better financially to, be prepared to handle their business. It is the nature of doing business. And my biggest hope, I think my more concern of, like I said, people are going to lose their jobs. People lose their jobs in every industry. I'm not cold-hearted. I don't want people to lose their jobs, but it's a life. Rob and I aren't guaranteed our jobs, but something like this.
Especially in tech.
Exactly. So
where they slice thousands at a time.
Yep. So like this game, Compile, that I just picked up the other day. This is from Greater Than Games. Well, that's another company that's said they're shuttering. And I've got Compile 2 pre-ordered. So it's like, what's going to happen with the games that are, is it ready? Because my understanding is it's supposed to be about ready to ship. Are those things going to ship, or will another company be able to buy the IP and assume that and still ship to get some of these things out? I mean, there's a lot going on. It is very volatile right now, but I do hope that when it's all said and done, I think that we may have a stronger industry, and maybe we shouldn't be reliant on one country for everything. And again, that's hello to the United States. Stop relying on everybody else to give us everything we need to live. That's really dumb. And that's everything. So
all eggs in one basket kind of thing.
Yep. So
yeah.
And I hope some of these industries would just stop jumping on the bandwagon of like, oh, we're going to go under. Just see it out. See what happens. This may be done very quickly. And maybe this threat of this increase isn't going to go into effect, or it might be done before that, that timeline. So all this crying and complaining and lawsuits could very well be for nothing.
I guess, part of proper company management is to adapt, right? To adapt to market conditions, adapt to market changes. And you look at what happened in COVID, right? Where, some companies, unfortunately, closed down. I mean, we lost a lot of companies, but, a lot did get through it for one reason or another. And one thing I wanted to mention is, that saying, like, what's old is new again?
Yeah.
One thing I was kind of thinking about was, like, when I first got into the hobby, it was towards the tail end of, where people were still getting a lot of import games. We had the usuals, right? We had some companies here like Rio Grande Games, and, they did a ton of games, right? You had Mayfair was another company that was like really strong, Fantasy Flight. So these were companies that produced the games here, but there was a ton of games that were unavailable in the American market. If you wanted them, you had to import them. Whether, you bought them, like there was some stuff that I bought from online game stores from Germany. And man, shipping was not kind. And there used to be Fun Again games. When they went to Essen, they used to call it the mule service. So they would put up a whole bunch of, games that were hot at Spiel, and you would order them, and they would buy these games, throw them on a pallet, plural, pallets, and then ship them to the United States. They showed up in a couple weeks, right? Because they probably went on a boat, and then they would ship them out to you. So that was one way that I used to get these games. Granted, they were oftentimes either in German or they were international editions. But yeah, if you look at the file section on BGG on a lot of games that are older, there's translations in there.
Yeah.
That's because the games weren't available in English, for example. And then people would sleeve games, and then you would have like these little slips of paper, that would translate what the text was on there. So that was another reason to sleeve. But, maybe we're going to go back to that a little bit, where like if you want some of these games initially, we might need to be importing stuff, from Germany, or, get the German version, get it from Amazon.de. That was another one. Because, there's some cool games that, they release with a German edition first or European edition, and then we don't see it for like 2 years later with an English version, or rather an Americanized or English version versus multiple languages. But yeah, so maybe we're going to have to go back to that somewhat, hopefully not like how it was back then. Because, yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah.
I do enjoy going to the local game store, or heck, even Barnes and Noble, and finding some games.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, things are going to definitely be different moving forward. And I think some of this stuff is going to happen, maybe even if this whole situation resolves tomorrow. I think we're heading down a path, whether we like it or not. And we're going to have to see how it all plays out. So.
Yep. Well, maybe I won't have to take 2 suitcases to Gen Con this year.
Maybe.
I'm still going to.
Yeah.
I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. So
exactly. Not after. You don't want to buy another suitcase over there.
I've done that the first year, so.
Or you might pressure me like, hey man, let me have one of your suitcases.
There you go.
And I'll return it.
I don't need to bring it.
I'll return it to you in February.
Exactly. So, all right.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But times are definitely a changing.
They are. No.
So,
all right.
Call it an episode here.
Yep.
At a nice time, 1 hour.
Send all the hate mail to Rob.
I have a lot of unreads, so I won't see it. Anyway. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Let us know what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear what you think might happen in the coming months. What you think will happen with the cons, with inventory, how we're going to adjust. What your plans are. Are you going to hoard games? Maybe.
Yeah. Rob was talking before the show. He's like, when I was talking about Compile, he was like, hey, maybe we should buy these out and you find some of the stuff and hold on to it and then become, double and triple the price and sell them on eBay, right?
Yep.
But we're nice guys. We don't do that. So.
We don't have. The real reason is we don't have room to store it.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks. I was going to say 2 and 2, but no.
All right. This is Mark. Thanks again. We'll see you at the table.